Update time, and a lot has happened. Sunday I knew was going to be a wash. We ended up going into the city to see Bluey's big play, which we had planned for. The aquarium was right next door, so we spent the day at the aquarium going through all the exhibits, seeing the tigers, seeing the sharks, going on all the rides and things. Sunday night the storm hit. Because the storm knocked out the power, I only had about 2 hours of sleep with my APAP working, so most of my sleep that night was not restful, and Monday ended up being another day that was just really weird. I went back to take a nap and then didn't wake up until the afternoon, so we just had a really crazy day that day, and nothing got done then either. Tuesday we tried to go visit the nearby libraries because we are in several of their summer reading programs, and we had finished up most of them. Most of them were closed. We went out to a Barnes & Noble that was still open and tried to go to a second Barnes & Noble that said it was open but was actually closed, and because of the lights being out, the travel time was ridiculous. I didn't get any reading done that day either. Yesterday, Wednesday, we took the kids to go to their grandfather's house, and that's just a long drive, so spent all day driving and managed to get through quite a bit of the Paris apartment actually. So we put that back on and got caught up. We were about halfway through when we stopped last time, and now we've only got about 2 hours, so I'm hoping that maybe we'll get through that tonight as well. I did get finished with The Auctioneer in that time, so somewhere, I think that was Tuesday night, I think I sat down and just finished up The Auctioneer. That's the one I was reading at night. The Auctioneer is a weird one. I understand, like, from a technical perspective and from like a writing perspective, it's very strong. I liked the slow build of tension that the book creates. For those who don't know, this is another one of the books off of the Paperbacks from Hell imprint, and so it's an older horror book. It is about an auctioneer who comes to this town and basically very slowly and subtly starts to dismantle it. So they just start taking, they ask for donations for this auction to start, and then it gets more and more like pressure to give things to the auction. People who don't give to the auction end up having accidents, getting hurt, and so it gradually gets to the point where this family has almost nothing in their house. They take away their guns, they take away their tools, they take away their cows, so they don't have anything. Like, their whole livelihood is taken away. For my own personal feeling, I didn't really care for it, and I think the biggest issue is that the main problem could have been solved by people pushing back sooner. This is mostly happening to people out in the sticks, like out in the country, who aren't who don't have like a strong community. They're very like isolationists, and once they start banding together and doing something collectively, then it very quickly unravels. It goes to the theme of like community and togetherness and joining forces to overcome evil, but it's just frustrating. For the story it's telling, I felt like it was a fairly lengthy book as well, and so it's just hard watching for several hundred pages this family like give up their stuff slowly, and then just thinking the whole time, like, just like push back, just like say something, band together, do something, and then to see that that's the resolution was kind of frustrating. So it ended up as a 3-star for me, not because of anything bad that the story is doing. I feel like the actual storytelling and the writing were all very strong. This is just a personal, I didn't care for this story, it didn't work for me, and I can recognize that it's a personal bias for sure. I'm down to one last book to read for the readathon, and that is Let's Go Play at the Atoms. I've started this, and I am hopeful that I'll get through it today. This is the one that's 5 words or more in the title, and I just got started with it. It's already past noon, but I have confidence that I'll be able to finish before the end of the day today, and I'll come back on tomorrow with a recap and try to get the video up then on Friday. Final night of Summerween was good. I finished up Let's Go Play at the Atoms. And it's another one that I really didn't like. I think this one's ultimately going to fall at a 2-star. I know that there are those who will just dismiss it outright as exploitative and misogynistic. I feel like there's a little more to it than that. There are a lot of moments that feel like we should be sympathetic toward Barbara and identify with her, but there are some unquestionably negative views presented in this book, especially around the concepts of sexual assault. I'm not disappointed I read it, because I'm very rarely disappointed that I read a book, but it is not for me. I would argue that there are misogynistic ideas in here. I don't know if I cannot ascribe them to the author, but when you have a moment where someone is being sexually assaulted and you go out of your way to say that the man in the situation is not in control of himself, that he is being driven to this by the woman, that's victim blaming, and it's super gross. It is the purpose of horror to disgust and repel, make us think about uncomfortable and dark scenarios, and this is meant to be a dark story. I can't help but feel that some of the messaging here is just bad. In addition to that, the book is way too long. I felt this way about both this and The Auctioneer. I know The Auctioneer started off as a short story, and I think I would have enjoyed it more as a short story or a novella. The same is true for this. It meanders so slow through these days without adding much substance. It only takes place over the course of maybe a week, and it's almost 400 pages long, and so it's just a bit too much. I don't like how cynical the worldview presented here is. We have a group of 5 children that are all like psychopaths and become rapists over the course of like 4 days. This would have you believe that these 5 children are all just horrible little human beings, that everybody is just a moments away from killing and doing whatever they want to their neighbor, that we're all just like on the precipice, that society is barely holding us in, and essentially that there is no good in the world, that there are no honestly like moral or positive individuals, and I don't buy it. There was not enough development, despite the length, there was not enough development of these characters to adequately paint them as these little sociopathic children or these psychopathic children. They have fairly normal lives, and I think that's rather the author's point, because the author feels like we are just, a moment away from, devolving into our basest desires. And I do not buy it, and I do not enjoy that kind of storytelling, especially when you're dealing with kids. I don't know. It did not work for me. I could see the argument for it being a horror novel and therefore meant to be uncomfortable or boundary pushing, but I also feel like, in a similar way to those intentionally bad B movies that come out from like asylum films, that their own negative qualities are a deterrent against criticism. I don't think that just because you're trying to be bleak and you're trying to, explore this dark space, that you should be free from criticism. And there are still many things that I personally find wrong with the book, and also just on a writing level, I felt it was overblown. So, unfortunate. Now, that does mean that the Paperbacks from Hell are not doing too well. I had 2 3-stars and this 2-star in the Paperbacks from Hell line. I was asked if I was going to continue looking at it, and I think I will, but maybe be a bit more selective in what I pick up next, because the thing is, this is not joined by anything other than this line is not joined by anything other than these are horror books that showed up in this anthology, this Grady Hendrix anthology look back at the 70s and 80s books. So really the only thing that they have in common is that they're from a certain era, and I still want to explore that era of writing. What I did find interesting about this compared to modern day writing is with One Perfect Couple, for example. If you read the back of that book, it talks about how they get stranded on the island and they have to start fighting for survival. That doesn't happen until like at least 100 pages in, maybe 150. If you read the back of Let's Go Play with the Atoms, it's like, oh, the inciting incident is that she gets tied up and is thinking it's just a game. That happens on page like 15, and the book starts on page 11. So within 5 pages, 6 pages, we have the inciting incident. And so I do find it interesting that these stories, modern day stories, or at least the ones that I gravitate toward, or the ones that are popular, tend to spend a lot of that early time with a lot of character development and exposition. And these older books, at least the ones I've been looking at so far, have been like very snappy in starting up the conflict and starting up the story itself. So that was one observation I had. I still want to read from this era of horror, and Winterween's going to come up, Halloween's going to come up. I need some spooky books to read, so I'll keep looking at this line and see if there are any winners in it for me. All right, so I think that covers it for Summerween. I hope your Summerween went well. I hope your reading journey is going well. I'll be back soon with going to be doing a 24-hour challenge soon, and I'll be getting back onto my Epic Series Summer videos starting next week, so look forward to those. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe so we can grow this corner of our BookTube community. And until the next one, take care.